Hey, daughter, good morning, and good morning to anybody else. It's a beautiful day here in Tucson, and I just wanted to discuss the topic of adjusting to the darkness. Now, this is a topic that Doug Batchelor. I love Doug Batchelor with amazing facts. And what I do is I've studied him for about 30 years, and I really love his work. And I'm simply putting on video, daughter, what I've been studying. And there are thousands of topics that are so interesting. This is very interesting. So, to get into it, the concept of adjusting to the darkness, it's possible to do. You know, there are very few things in life that you cannot eventually adjust to regarding like a very dark room. Eventually, you are able to see eventually. And it's vitamin A washes over your eyes when you blink, and it's the vitamin A that enables your night vision. Just thought I'd throw that in. But we can adjust to most darknesses, even if it's really dark over time. You might come out like a mole, later, but eventually. But there are certain ones. There's certain darknesses that we cannot adjust to. Matter of fact, they're so complete and so absolute that they're horrifying. There's a darkness that's horrifying. Getting back to the concept of Doug Batchelor, he brought out the concept of adjusting to the darkness, and some people will do that. When you're a child, it's natural to fear the dark. I to this day I like a little light. Okay, big mean guy, but a little light, please. Anyway, so yeah, uh, and we understand when a child is nervous about the dark. We understand that. What is sad, though, is when an adult is afraid of the light. The light, the light is an amazing concept separating darkness. It did it from the very beginning. In Genesis, the world was without form and void and dark. In essence, it was chaotic. It was a chaotic environment. But then the Lord said, fine. He said, let there be light. And the light was so. And it divided the darkness. There was a division between the day and the light. And that division is still up to this day, to this hour, this minute. The light and the dark are mortal enemies. Just like when he divided the world when it was in darkness and chaos, and he brought light into the world, he brought order into the world. Order was brought in, you know. So it's a sad thing when adults are scared of the light because they may be suffering unnecessarily. Um, oh, and by the way, I'm going to try to get good at these notes. So, the last video is kind of rough. I'm sorry about that. But getting used to the darkness. If you get used to the darkness, see when you first sin, and this is in regards to the unforgivable sin as well. By the way, you get a twofer. Anyway, when it comes to sinning, when you first steal a candy bar, you really feel it, because I remember when I was a little boy and I took a Snickers or whatever. At first, it was like, oh no, I didn't do this. But if you do it for the 100th time, you don't feel it anymore. And the same thing when it comes to killing. The first person you kill might be horrific, but by the 10th or 20th, you may eventually, who knows? That part of you dies that used to care. And that's why it's called the unforgivable sin, because you grieve away the Holy Spirit. It's the Holy Spirit that tells you when you're doing something wicked. And eventually that voice dies and you're left on your own. But John 3:19 is really interesting. Basically, it states in a sentence who we are. And it says, the light was brought into the world, but men hated the light. And that's John 3:19. Men hated the light because they love darkness, because they're evil. Evil people love darkness. They don't like looking at you in the eye. That's an issue. That's how you can recognize them, by their fruits and their behaviors. Because we know that light purifies. Jesus came into the world, he purifies. Light, fire, tribulation, like a shaking. When you throw wheat into the air and the chaff blows away because of no substance, the wheat is purified. You've gotten rid of the chaff, you've gotten rid of the waste. Now you're dealing strictly with wheat. Light purifies. You shine a light on something, after a while, you can, the cockroaches will stay away. Well, somewhat. But light does purify. The 8 natural remedies I spoke of, sunshine was one. You get some sunshine on something, you open up and you let that sunlight get to it, man, it starts killing and cleaning and healing. So, light purifies. And we are to be light. When we go to places, and we're supposed to bring a certain kind of energy or presence where people say, that's a happy person. They have light in them. There's no darkness. They're happy. Sincerely. We want people thinking like that. Okay. So, it purifies. But let's talk about the darkness. Oh, wait, I haven't finished. So, I did finish. Yeah, you grieve away the Holy Spirit. Eventually, you adjust to the darkness, and eventually that's what you are. And there's your destiny. Only 2 destinies, light and dark. So, the darknesses, there were 2 darknesses that were so extreme, and this is really what I want to talk to you about, in Egypt and when Jesus was crucified. These darknesses were so dark that they were horrifying, and you can never get used to them, ever. And what it was the 3 days in Egypt when Moses sent a plague of darkness, and then the 3 hours from the 6th to the 9th hour when Jesus was crucified and the area was cast into darkness. These darknesses were so extreme that people were terrified. Let me see, Isaiah 60:20. It's called a gross darkness. Okay, so in Isaiah 60:20, it says, and a darkness befell the earth, and a gross darkness the people. Now, when you think of gross, you can think, oh, that's gross. But it could also mean concentrated, concentrated, like orange juice, concentrated. So this darkness was actually a darkness that was so palpable, hopefully I got that word right, that you could feel it. Oh, and it says that too. If you go to Exodus chapter 10, verses 21 and 23, it says so. It says people were unable to get up. They had to stay seated for 3 days because the blackness was so complete that Exodus, Moses says they felt it. It had a feeling to it. And they couldn't move. Go figure. That would be terrifying. For the 3 hours, it was pitch black. And for the 3 days, it was pitch black. But the Israelis had lights in their places. They had lights. Out of the 10 plagues that Egypt suffered, Moses and his people only suffered 7 of them. And one of them was not darkness. So that's Exodus 10, 21, 23. You have to ask yourself, why would they want to kill Jesus if he brought some beautiful light? He brought beautiful light, perfect light. They hated him because his light made their darkness stand out. It was evident. When you have a bunch of people that are basically the same, the idiots that are saying they're the best can get away with it. But when next to Jesus, they were too exposed. They killed him for that. So remember, we are to be the light, daughter, for other people. And we do that with the way we interact with them, with what we bring to the table. It has to be love. Love first. Otherwise, you're a banging gong. You have to have love. You have to be sincere. Anytime you give any form of praise, make sure that it's sincerely meant. If you look at the world, they do the very opposite. People are always flattering each other, these actors and all these dingbats, always flattering. Those are empty, dead people. Those are empty, dead people doing that. Forget that. But also remember, daughter, that you're the dimmer switch too. This light, it's never static. Your walk with Christ. Walk in the light you're given, and you'll be perfect. But there's a dimmer switch. In other words, it's never static. Your light with Christ, your walk with Christ. You're either going to be going better, or you're going to be going back. You'll never be staying the same. If you ever think you're the same, you're going backwards. Just to let you know. But it's dynamic. So if you walk in the light you're given, as it advances before you, as you continue on your earthly existence, you walk with the path that's in front of you, not looking 15, 20 steps ahead, looking at where you're putting your foot next. You do that and you'll be perfect. Take an ear of corn, for example. It may only be 4 inches tall, but it's still perfect. Even if it doesn't have an ear of corn on it, still perfect. What else could that be an example of? Well, an ear of corn for a fact. It's still perfect. Oh, I got one. How about you go to New Guinea? You know there's cannibalism, right? Well, out of a whole village of people, there may be 2 cannibals who decide to no longer partake of that because they hearken to the thing in their ear that says it's wrong. That's discernment, remember? They're no different than Moses. They're no different. They walked in the light they were given. It was just enough light that said, don't eat meat. That's human. Moses had an ocean of light, but look at how much he accomplished. But they're seeing the same. So let me just make sure. I think I got all this done. Okay, yeah. It's so interesting. Last thing, 2 things I want to say. It's so interesting. In this time of history, there's never been more man-made light in the world. Look at how the stadiums there's more man-made light now than in any time in history. I'm wondering, could that be deceptive? As bright as this world is physically, look how dark it is spiritually. It's black. Could that be deceptive? Don't be deceived. Man's going to try to tell you that his man-made light is better. It's better man-made light. You can stay out all night. Don't go for any of that. That's taking your attention away. Don't, like Dateline, they're always talking about murder. Don't live vicariously. That's what people do. They don't want to murder, but they'll live vicariously. That's growing accustomed to the darkness. So I hope this study helped. Oh, and one thing I found that was so interesting, and I wanted to read it. Doug Batchelor said this: if you're a Christian and as you approach the Lord, His light will illuminate those things in your life that you need to change. But don't be discouraged. Continue to walk towards the Lord. And as you do, and as His light becomes stronger upon you, those things that you knew that needed to be changed, His light will burn them from you. Love you, daughter. Love everybody else. Have a wonderful day. Bye.